welcome back. My name's Ellie. I am the founder, CEO, whatever else titles you want to give me, of Calibrated Concepts. And around here, we specialize in making your business simple through technology, software, automation, good websites, and so much more. So if your to-do list feels like you want... So if your to-do list feels like you want to hide in bed, run away to somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi, or that you really need to be on a beach somewhere, you're not alone. So let's find a way to tackle it. Starting with the top, what do you tackle when you already feel really overwhelmed? How do you add something to the pile to help actually you in the long run? Where do you start to start automating and simplifying when you feel like you cannot do one more thing? You feel this way not because you're lazy. Obviously, you have a to-do list 20 miles long, but it's really because you're stuck in manual mode. You're doing everything on your own or with a small team, but you're constantly context switching, chasing tasks, repeating yourself, and you're not really being efficient with your time, your energy, or your team's time and energy if you have one. You didn't start your business to feel this way. You started your business for some type of flexibility, whether that be time freedom, location independence, spending more time with your kids. It's so easy to let it suck up everything, to let your small business suck up everything you have, unless you put really strict boundaries and really good systems in place. Let's talk about how to do that. I tell my clients all the time, start with where you feel like you're losing the most time. So usually what I do is make people actually track their time. I will have my clients for a day, a week, whatever they feel like they can commit to, use a free tool called Toggle, and I have them track their time. And what I didn't realize when I started my business is how much time I'm spending on business admin, how much time I'm spending on marketing the business. And knowing those things really helped me up my pricing so that I could pay myself for the time that it took me to do those things, right? And so think about where you're losing the most time, things that you do so frequently that if you could automate or systemize, it would make a massive impact in your business. So I'm thinking client onboarding, scheduling, follow-up emails, or emailing in general, weekly admin tasks, monthly admin tasks, those kinds of things. Automation should feel like buying back your brain space, not just setting up tools that you'll never use. My favorite quick win to recommend to people if they're just getting started is almost always a scheduler. So there's a load of these out there. I use the one in Dubsado because I use that as my CRM. But there's other really great ones out there like Calendly, Acuity. Google Calendar actually has its own scheduler. There's more out there, but those are probably the big hitters. What I love about it is if you can spend an hour setting this up, it can save you days of time, right? How many times have you gone back and forth with somebody about what time you could meet, only to have someone's schedule change last minute? How often are you fielding cancellation emails or rescheduling emails? I can't find the Zoom link emails, those kinds of things. So having that all be automated, you just pop in your availability for an appointment type, how long the appointment is, how often you want to be able to take that appointment, or how far in advance you want someone to book, how the cancellation works or rescheduling works. And then all you have to do is send people a link. Or in my case, I have my my link for my consultation directly embedded on my website, and that all just ticks over. It also has forms, so people who book a consultation call with me also have to give me a little bit of information so I can show up to the call prepared to make the most of our time. And same with my client calls. There's a bit of admin that goes into that. They also get automated reminders. And if they have to reschedule, there's a link right there that says, hey, if you need to cancel your schedule, here's a link. Saves everybody time, headache, energy. So that is my number one win. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling bogged down in admin, get yourself a scheduling tool. My number two win would be to start simplifying your client onboarding. When I first started, I've always tried to have really slick systems, but before I could really pay for the software for really slick systems, or before I felt like maybe I was ready to pay for the software of really slick systems, I kind of had them all cobbled together with a lot of free or very cheap tools. And that worked for the clients. It looked really nice. I had it set up in really good email templates, and it didn't probably feel as clunky for them as it felt for me in the back end. But when I was onboarding a client back in those days, it took me well over an hour of getting them an email folder and a Google Drive folder, and making sure that they got all the emails they needed and they were added to my email newsletter software for clients, not just for marketing because that's illegal, and that they were getting their contracts, their invoicing, any onboarding forms or questionnaires they needed. Like, that all just took so much out of me. Eventually, I outsourced that. I got a VA and they handled that, but it still took them so much time. So I eventually moved over to a client relationship management software. There's so many out there: Dubsado, Honeybook, 17 Hats. Depending on how big you are, HubSpot's obviously a really big one. And that manages all those things I just talked about and more. It manages my email templates. It manages my contracts, invoices, welcome and onboarding emails. It just handles everything, all the reminders, all the homework. And it just makes it feel like I literally go in and I said, they chose this package, they're having this payment plan, usually it's thirds, and here's the date of their project, done. And I click a button and it sends and fires off all of the things that they need to do, because I've taken the time to set this up. Now, unlike setting up the first thing we talked about, scheduling, which might take you an hour or two to get it all set up right, setting up a CRM, doing it well, so it's going to really be robust and help you, is not the easiest thing. I have really good tools in my shop. There are a lot of really good service providers. I can help you out if you're feeling overwhelmed, but you really want to take your time with it. Me setting up a Dubsado from scratch, if I had every single email, I knew exactly how their workflows worked, and it just took everything, I could probably do it in 8 to 10 hours. Just because every single canned email, every single package, and then building out all the workflows, it's not a short process. But Dubsado is really good, and I'm using Dubsado as an example. I assume they're all competitive with each other, so I assume they're all very good. Dubsado is really great about having templates. So they have templates in all of these sections of things, so you can kind of get an idea of what you need, and you're not having to create everything from scratch. All right. The third win that I would say, and the third system that I really recommend to people that are feeling overwhelmed, is a project management software. There's some really good ones out there. There's Moxie or Asana, but probably the two that my clients use the most are Asana and ClickUp, mostly Asana. I think Asana walks the line between being robust enough and not overcomplicated, and has a really kick-ass free plan. So that's something that I want. I want you to use it not as a task management system, as I find a lot of people use Asana just to manage their tasks, but as this is where my business's brain is, right? Here's all of my upcoming goals, my quarterly projects, my client tasks, all the admin. And then as you grow, you can put your team to any of those tasks. So I put in standard operating procedures in the form of Loom videos typically. I set recurring tasks and recurrences based on how often we need to do something. This video is assigned to me in Asana, along with every subtask that it takes to get this into post-production and out to my blog and out to YouTube and out to the podcast. And that is something that gets passed off to my virtual assistant. It's not sexy, but if you take the time to put in all these things and treat it like it's not a one and done, you're constantly updating it, you're constantly evolving it, as your own processes evolve and as the tasks you do in your work evolve. And I have a load of templates also in my shop, but also in my business, I have templates that I use for every client project, etc. That means that it is not something I have to build out from scratch. It is a repeatable process. that is the 3 quick wins. We're going to talk about a bonus thing. Something that I talk about a lot is automating your content workflows. Obviously, you really need your content to sound and be authentic to who you are, what you know, your expertise. But there are things you can do to make it feel less arduous. The first is creating templates, personal templates. So my newsletter is templated. It has a certain formula that it follows every time. The content in it's different. It's always handwritten. My newsletter is something that I never use AI for. It's just me. And then I can feed it into AI for other things to create content quicker. But if you can sit down and batch and schedule, so this video will become a podcast episode, it will become some social media posts, it will be fed into my next newsletter. It will go on, several different places, right? I'll create a reel that's a short version of this, and creating that big meaty piece and letting it turn into lots of other pieces is one of the just magical things of creating one long form piece of content. Scheduling is another big one, especially for social media. So I would schedule, if I am creating some sort of promotion, I would schedule lots of emails in advance, right? Or maybe I would batch together a few YouTube videos and drip them out over a specific time. I do this especially if I'm getting ready to go on vacation. But because I only create one video every other week, I don't have such a rigorous posting schedule that I feel like I need to get that far in ahead of it. But the thing I do batch and schedule religiously is my social media posts, specifically my LinkedIn and Facebook posts, because my reels, sometimes I schedule those as well. I'll create 5 or 6 of them and have them all sitting there in draft ready to post out, or schedule them in the Instagram app. But I take pieces of all this other content I'm creating, my newsletter, these videos, and put them on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I schedule them out in Later. I've been using Later forever, like probably 6+ years. I love how visual it is. I love how clean it is. And I love that you just have this big, never-ending pot of all of your content. I like that you can pull it in from other places, but mostly I just drop in photos monthly, and then I go through and categorize them. So I can categorize them on like pictures of me versus pictures of my dog versus food pictures or travel pictures, and versus Canva created graphics, and be able to just drag and drop them into my calendar. And it's wonderful. All right. So that is my 3 tips plus a content bonus. What you shouldn't automate when you're just getting started. I would say overcomplicated zaps and integrations. Feeling like you need to try all the tools, don't do it. Like, talk to a few business friends, see what they're recommending, try that and go start small. I wouldn't automate anything that you haven't already nailed manually, that you don't know, like, this is how we do this. If you're just guessing and you haven't found your process, don't automate it yet. And I wouldn't automate anything that feels like it's going to add to the confusion rather than adding more space, boundaries, and clarity. All right. So what are you starting with? Are you going to start with scheduling? Are you going to start with content? Are you going to start with client onboarding or with a project management tool? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear. And if you have questions, I have lots more content around how to do these various systems, but I'm always here. If you just like get stuck in one place, let me know. I love answering this kind of stuff. I get so geeky about it. All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Oh, one more thing. Can you like, share, subscribe if this video was helpful for you or this podcast was helpful with you, wherever you are hanging out with me? Thank you.